Final Fantasy 16 is already approaching its second anniversary, which is wild to think about. One of my favorite Final Fantasy games ever since it released. About 5 months ago, I released a video going over the mods for Final Fantasy 16, which you should definitely check out before watching this video. But already since then, there have been even more incredible mods that I wanted to put out there to give you that definitive experience. Of course, while 16 is a good game, it is certainly not without its flaws. So with this video, I will show you some amazing mods you should absolutely have, whether you're, coming back to the game or playing the game for the very first time. So as always, do not forget to like the video and subscribe for anything RPG or gaming related in the future. With that, let's get into it. Now, the mods you should make sure you download before anything else is Reloaded 2 by Nenkai. This is the manager you'll be using for all the mods you see here in the video, really any mod that you download. The FF16 mod framework, also by Nenkai, is yet another mod you'll want to have. While not required for everything, there will be specific mods that do require you to have it, so I recommend that you download it just in case. Now, to start off very strong, we have the custom difficulty with consumable cap options by Mabry. Now, compared to other difficulty mods, I truly believe this is the best one to have. This is especially useful for a first playthrough if you want the game to be more challenging when you're just getting into it, giving you options to change the value of how hard enemies hit, how much HP they have, their aggression, just lots of customization here. You can even customize your first playthrough with Ultimaniac difficulty options. And if you really want to get in depth with it, you can even set custom values to get the specific difficulty that you want. I mean, Mabry really went all out here. Additionally, you can also set a limit to how many potions the game gives you, which is great because we all know how annoying it can be when you die and then respawn with full potions. Almost as if the game rewards you for dying and gets rid of any urgency. Now, if you want that challenge, even if you die, you can be limited on potions, just further adding to the challenge. But if you also wanted to raise your potions, that's also an option too. But guys, this is an extremely important mod, something I'm glad that modder Mabry could provide for this community, as it's one of those things that people have been asking for since release. One of the game's more glaring problems is its lackluster difficulty, especially on your first playthrough, making most combat encounters feel trivial as a result. But with this mod, I can guarantee you'll have a much more enjoyable time with the moment-to-moment combat experience, depending on how you customize the difficulty. And all of it is extremely accessible and easy to set up. Next up is mid-game save files, including bosses and hunt marks, a mod also by Mabry. As of right now, this is the mod you're going to want to use if you want to replace specific bosses, hunts, or to simply skip to any section of the game. And just recently, the DLC saves were also added as well. Unlike the other mods on the list, you don't need Reloaded 2 for this. You simply need to drag and drop the specific saves from the pack you downloaded into the game's save files. This mod has a total of 6 packs, and each one contains a certain difficulty and all of the specific content it allows you to jump to within the game, including of course the newly added pack 6 with all of the DLC saves. So if you're someone who likes to play certain parts but don't want to replay the entire game, you also don't want to go through arcade mode just to get to a certain boss, this is the mod for you. The next one on the list is Accessory Overhaul by Raiden 2. If you watched my last mod video for 16, there was a similar mod done by M Thunder called Gear and Recipe Overhaul, where they would implement unique traits on mostly all of the weapons in the game so that weapon progression and choice wasn't as linear. This accessory mod, as the name suggests, overhauls the unique traits of most of the accessories in the game and just gives them a complete buff. Of course, with how the accessories are naturally, they're incredibly underpowered, almost like they don't even have an effect. This mod changes that and makes it so when you do equip an accessory, it does feel like it made a difference to how you perform in battle, while also being quite balanced as well. And when you couple that with the difficulty mod made by Mabry, I can guarantee this will really enhance the experience. Now next up we have the Sprint Everywhere mod by M Thunder. Now this was actually a mod I requested myself, and as soon as they let me know it was ready, I did not hesitate to try it out. Because not only was FF16 in dire need of a dedicated sprint button, but honestly it also needed sprint in areas that didn't allow for it. In any game you have that natural urge to sprint wherever you can. So when there's areas in 16 that restrict that, it just gets incredibly annoying and it really slows the game down. And so like the title of the mod says, you can now literally sprint wherever you want. Whether you're in the hideaway, playing through a stage, or in exploration, all you really have to do now is simply hold down the right trigger to sprint, and there you go. This was one of those smaller features I always wanted in the game, and I found it weird that they would implement sprint only in open zones and not even give you a dedicated button for it, but instead an automatic sprint. It just made exploration feel so much slower than it had to be, so I'm glad that with this mod it fully removes that restriction outside of some rare story moments. I even found that you could even sprint with young Clive in the beginning sections of the game. However, because young Clive doesn't have a run animation like his older self, the game just uses his default jog animations when you try to run, and it just looks extremely goofy. But besides that, the Sprint Everywhere mod is one you should definitely download if you want to speed up exploration or just to finally have a dedicated sprint button. Iconic Overhaul by Solo Juan is an expansive gameplay overhaul from everything to weapons and gear, to simplifying cooldown rates and expanding on combat. Now, my first mod video went over the Logos Unleashed overhaul, which is very similar to the mod we have here, except the Iconic Overhaul gets a bit more extreme with it. For those who like the combat in 16 but just simply wanted more, this is definitely going to be the mod for you. Some of the more important changes allow for most of the icon abilities to now be used in the air. Magic and magic burst potency is now increased, or some of the cooler changes like bringing over abilities from being cooldowns to just being part of Clive's base kit by pressing R2 and circle. Something very similar to what you would see in the Logos Unleashed mod. Additionally, magic burst is also changed. So now with every magic burst hit, it activates a different ability instead of being your traditional 4-hit magic burst combo. For example, base attack ×2 into magic burst activates Rising Flames, base attack ×3 into magic burst activates Burning Blade, and base attack ×4 into magic burst activates Scarlet Cyclone. It takes some getting used to since it does switch a lot of stuff around, and base combat is much more expansive now, with abilities now being weaved into timed combos. Perhaps one of the more noticeable changes has to be the animation canceling, which just makes combat feel so much more faster than before. It almost gets rid of the absolute necessity that is Rift Slip and having to rely on it as the animation canceling ability. But you'll realize, especially if you're someone who really enjoys the combat, that it just feels so much more fluid and faster because it gets rid of that barrier of having to wait in between animations. And you know, while I really enjoy the regular combat itself, Iconic Overhaul is yet another insane mod to try out if you're someone who just wants an expansion to Final Fantasy XVI's already flexible combat system. Now, to save the best for last is the Remove Pink Sky mod by Nenkai. This is a mod I know a lot of people have been wanting to see in the game for so long. As with any mainline Final Fantasy, once you reach the endgame, you'll have this big world-ending event that can change the way the entire world can visually look. Final Fantasy XVI is no exception, with the entire world now covered in a depressing haze of purple. Which, to be fair, it is obviously intentional, and it does fit thematically with the story, as the people of Valencia are now sapped of their free will. That said, once you play through the game once or twice, this purple hue just ends up getting really old, and man, is it so realistic that it makes me lose my own free will just looking at the environment like this. Now, this mod mostly gets rid of the purple sky in all areas besides Waloed. Of course, since Waloed is the only area in the game that doesn't have a clear sky alternative. While these Primogenesis skies definitely make sense within the story, It makes each area feel so naturally dull that once you go back and look at how much better the game looks with clear skies, it is just so hard to ever go back. Besides the difficulty mod, this is for sure my favorite on the list, and I'm so glad that we finally have an option like this for the game. As much as I love Final Fantasy 16, a lot of these mods really do serve to make your experience, whether it's your first time or fifth time, that much more enjoyable. And this video would not have been made without all of the incredible modders who continue to support this game long after 16's release. So a huge shout out to them, and definitely make sure to check out all of their mods linked in the description below. Comment and let me know what other mods you would love to see come to the game. And if you would like to personally request a mod, feel free to head on over to Final Fantasy 16's modding Discord, also linked down below. And with all of that said, I will catch you guys in the next one.